What's going on, everybody? It's your man Chris Z here, back with another video. It's gonna be another live stream. It's gonna be part 2, astrology, how to get whatever you want out of life using only astrology. Using your astrology, using your life as an example, and using your transit life going on. This how you gonna do it, this how you gonna get it done. Today's gonna be how you gonna get everything that you love and everything that you aspire to be. But first, you got to know what is love and what is your aspirations in your chart. In your personal chart, love is your 5th house. Love is your 5th house. And if you don't know astrology, your 5th house is ruled by Leo. Your 5th house is ruled by Leo. Leo is your 5th house. Your 5th house is going to be the 5th sign in your natal chart. We're not talking about where your sun is. We're going by the ascendant. And if you look at an ascendant wheel, it goes counterclockwise. You know how a clock regularly goes for you? It goes the opposite way. It starts at the bottom corner. It starts at the bottom related to you left-hand part of your chart. Wherever that part in your chart is, that's where it's going to be for you. Opposite of Leo is Aquarius, the 11th house, which is going to be your aspirations. It's going to be what you inspire to be, what is going to be what your brain innovates on, what you have knowledge on. Knowledge is the opposite of love. You understand that, right? Knowledge is the opposite of love, but you cannot have love without knowledge. How can I love you if I don't even know you? How can I love you if I don't even know you? A mother knows her child. She can love her child. A child knows their parents, therefore they can love their parents. If you think you can love somebody but you don't really know them, that's not how it works. But how does that play out for you in your chart? A zodiac wheel goes Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. Then it goes Aquarius, then it goes Pisces. Those are the 12 signs. The 12. I'm trying to see how it looks on the screen. If it comes out as 12, yeah, 12. If you want to do that one, nah, 12. Those are the 12 signs of the zodiac. Depending on what is your 1st house is going to change what's your 5th house. So I'm going to be going through every single last 1st house through the 12 signs to tell you what your 5th house is going to be, and it's going to tell you what your 12th house is going to be and why it even works that way. You got to understand this when it comes to astrology, right? The houses don't change. 1st house is always going to start on the top. It's going to start on the bottom left-hand corner. It's going to start left. Then it's going to the bottom of the chart. Then it's going to go to the right of the chart. Then it's going to go to the top of the chart, back to the left-hand part of the chart. That's how you read the zodiac chart, by the houses. That's also how you read the transiting sky. If you're looking at an online zodiac chart, if you're looking at an online chart in general, this is going to be how you read the chart. If you're looking at the transiting sky, if you want to know how the planets are and how they're going to affect you today. Let me see if I can get you real quick. Let me help you guys out. Today is June 1st, 11:30 a.m. where I'm at, right? The sun is 9 degrees Cancer, 7 degrees in Leo is the moon. You have Mercury and Venus, both of them in Gemini. North Node is in Taurus. Uranus is still going to be in Taurus. Neptune is in Pisces. Pluto is in Capricorn. Oh, and I almost forgot. Jupiter is in Aries. So I'm going to give you a breakdown. That's what the sky is today. And you need to know your own personal birth chart because it's going to help you better understand how exactly to get what you want out of the chart, because you got to know where everything in your chart is, because that chart defines you as above, so below. Whatever is happening in the skies and the heavens is happening here on earth. It's happening at the exact same time. Whatever is happening up there is happening down here. However that chart moves is the way you're going to move. Just because you can't see it, just because you don't know how to read it, just because you don't understand it per se, doesn't mean that it's not true and it's not happening. So I'm gonna break it down for you, right? And look back at the chart of today. Okay, because I gotta understand for me what's going on for me right now and why things are certainly acting out the way that they are for me. Okay, okay. My north node, my north node, 21 degrees. 21 degrees. That is, it's on my Jupiter degree and it's on my Saturn degree. Okay, okay. What else is going on? What's going on? Everything else is within 1 degree of another placement. Neptune is still going to be on my natal north node, 25 degrees. So it's going to help me better understand what's going to happen today and why am I speaking the way that I am and how I'm going to affect you guys. But we're going to start off with Aries. If you have Aries as your ascendant, that's going to make Leo, the sign of Leo, the ruler of your fifth house. You love to express yourself. You love to be in the head of everything. You love to be in command of everything that's going on in the world around you. You just love drama in some cases. People just love to get on you because you know your hot stuff and you know how to get things done. You aspire in your life. You aspire for an Aquarian life. Your 11th house, your house of friendship, your house of freedom, your life of what you aspire to have. You aspire to have a lot of friends who are intellectuals, a lot of friends who are knowledgeable, a lot of people who want to know about or work towards having the world around you be a certain way. And I'm trying to figure out something right now. I'm looking at the chart. Okay. Okay. It just shifted again. Every couple seconds the chart moves. The sky is always turning. For an Aries rising, you need to know for a fact how to control your temper, because that can be a bad thing. If you want to know how to control your temper, you got to know where the ruling planet of your first house is. The first house is naturally ruled by Aries, but the ruling planet of Aries is Mars. You need to look to see where Mars is in your chart. For example, just because you're in Aries rising doesn't mean your Mars is going to be in Aries. Doesn't mean your Mars is going to be in your first house. It can be in any of the other 11 signs, in any of the other 11 houses. And depending on where that Mars is going to affect how you're going to move. You need to keep track of every single last planet in your chart. This is why you need to learn your natal chart. Because one Aries is never ever going to be the same as another Aries. All Aries share things in common. This is why we can tell you're an Aries. But you may be an Aries that acts more like a Taurus. You may be an Aries that acts more like a Gemini, a Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, goes on and on and on for the rest of the chart. But for the sake, if you're talking about your love life, Leo is the sign that rules the fifth house. You naturally have it there, Aries. But the ruler of the fifth house is the sun. The sun. The sun is the part of the chart that is your personality. That is going to describe what your main focus is on. Sun in the fifth house. Let's just say, for example, you have your sun in the fifth house. You are a person known for love. You are a person known for acting like a child. The fifth house is children. You are a person known for being the leader, trying to put yourself ahead of everything, putting yourself in place. That is what it's like to have it in the fifth house. And for example, since we're talking about the 11th house, also Aquarius, which naturally is the ruler of the 11th house, which is also good for you as well, Aries rising. The ruler of the 11th house is Uranus, the planet. The planet. The 11th house is going to be your house of innovation, freedom, knowledge, rebellion. When you rebel against somebody, odd, weird. It is also the house of science. All things science are ruled by Aquarius. Machinery, technology. It's going to be your rebellious streak, but it's also your friend streak, your friends or acquaintances, to be a better word, your acquaintances. Once somebody has progressed in their chart to their 11th house, they are said to have they have said to have accomplished and got to a position where they've gotten everything that they wanted. You're going to want these things, Aries. You're going to want these things. Because the keywords are the keywords, so they were crazy about that too. Let's talk about Taurus now. Taurus. If you are a Taurus, your second house is no longer Taurus. Your second house is going to be Gemini. So let's count. If you have Taurus on your rising, which is the first house, Gemini is going to be your second. Cancer is going to be your third. Leo is going to be your fourth. It moved one backwards. Now, Virgo is going to be your fifth house. You love very accurately. You love precisely. You love not based on superficial things. You don't base your love on your feeling. You base your love on, this is how exactly I want a person to be. This is what I'm exactly want to love a person for. This is what a person should be loved for. And that's how you love a person. That's how you love a person. That's how you love a person. Very accurate, meticulous, calculated, very clean with your love life, or can go extremely dirty. What is the ruler of Virgo? Mercury. Where is Mercury in your chart? It's safe to say anything that you can say about Mercury, you can also say, or Mercury, you can also say about Virgo in the fifth house. Whether you have Mercury in the fifth house or you have Virgo in the fifth house, they're basically going to say the same thing. Not 100% exactly, but just enough to give you an idea of what's going on. I do this because I want to. I love you because I want to, is what a Taurus would say. Is what a Taurus would say. Because this is what you do. Taurus is about value. It's about, do you do something for me? And if you do something and you can provide something for me, I'ma love you for that. That's a Taurus. That's a Taurus. Opposite of Virgo is going to be Pisces. You want friends, you want to be in a place with dreamers, believers. You don't want to be, you want friends who have a sense of loneliness about them. Maybe you want friends that you can relate to, friends that are going to believe in you. They're not always going to try to change you. They're going to believe in how or what you're saying. Because most people say Tauruses are stubborn, but if they say a Taurus is stubborn, that's because a Taurus always feels that people are trying to change them. So they're going to want friends that are going to believe in them. The natural ruler of Pisces is Neptune. Where is Neptune in your chart? And the same thing can be said. Neptune in the 11th house can read the same way as Pisces in the 11th house. Let's go on to Gemini. Gemini in your rising, you're a very secretive person. Very secretive person. You don't like people knowing too much about you. You believe in value. Your fifth house is going to be Libra. You love balance, beauty, order, harmony. You love the law. You love fairness. The ruler of Libra is Venus. Where does Venus sit in your chart? Venus in the fifth house is going to be more of I believe I can love based on how fair the relationship can be. And for that to be the case, you must have knowledge in the fact that all of your friends are going to be active people. All of your friends are going to be active people. Active. All of your friends are going to be people who love to do things. Headstrong, moving fast, act before they think. And you are a Gemini, therefore you are a natural thinker. So you're going to think for them and they're going to love you for that. Cancer rising. If you're a Cancer rising, your first house is Cancer. Therefore, your fifth house, your house of love, is going to be Scorpio. Scorpio. Your love is very possessive. Possession. You can either hate the person that you love or you have a very possessive obsession with that person. That person is for you and nobody else. That person is for you and for nobody else. Since you love this way, since you love this way, you got to understand that the ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. Pluto. Whatever you can say about Pluto, you can also say about Scorpio, putting that in the fifth house. Scorpio being the fifth house would put Taurus in your 11th house. Your friends love value. They love value. Your friends are valuable. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of worth to them. They do a lot of business interactions. They're very moral people. Very, very moral people to you. Then you would move on to, since you're a Cancer, you're a very nurturing person. Your friends value you because you nurtured them. You understand their value and you know to take care of them. Then you move on to Leo. Now we went through the four modalities. We went through a fire sign, went through an earth sign, went through an air sign, and we went through a water sign. Now we're back at fire again, but to Leo. Now Leo is the rising. Leo is the natural ruler of the fifth house. So if you have Leo on your ascendant, you are a natural person. The way you just act is the way a person would act if they were in love. You would just naturally act the same way a person would act if they were naturally expressing themselves. This puts Sagittarius in your fifth house. Your love is very higher thinking. Your love is very merciful, kind. Your love is joyous. Your love can make people or the person that you love laugh. Your love can be obsessive too. It can be overabundant. You can actually give a little bit too much love, and that can hurt people too, having it there in that chart. The opposite of your love life, when you're going to your friendships now, your knowledge, what you know, is going to be Gemini. Your friends are intelligent people. Your friends are people who love to talk, love to talk. They love to just say things, and you love to interact with them because of it. You're the main stage, you're the attention, you're the main star of everything, the heart, Leo. Therefore, your friends love talking. And what would they talk about? Most likely they're going to talk about you. Most likely they're going to talk about you, for the better and for the worse. Then we go on to Virgo and Virgo risings. Virgo, your fifth house, your house of love, is going to be Capricorn. You love seriously. Your love is very serious. You are down to the point when it comes to love. You're not a lot about games. You're not a lot about joking around. You're very hard in the person. You know what you want. You know how you love. You know how you're going to go about love. You don't play around. And sometimes your love can be cold. Sometimes you can be mean when it comes to love. If the person who you love is not loving you the way you want to be loved, it can hurt you. Or better yet, it will hurt them. It will hurt them. I'm personally a Virgo rising myself, so I can attest to this. The opposite of Capricorn being in your fifth house, your house of friendship, your house of knowledge, your aspirations, your 11th house now. The opposite of Capricorn is Cancer. Your friends are very nurturing. Your friends are very home-based, family-based. Your friends are either going to be your family. You are either friends with your family, or friends with family-based, nurturing-based people. Cancer is also women. You may have a lot of women who are your friends, who may be becoming your friends, but this is not always the case. Moving on from this, you go to Libra, Libra rising. If you are a Libra rising, your house of love is going to be Aquarius. Aquarius. Your love life is very rebellious. You are a rebel when it comes to love. You don't love the same way other people love. What people might find common, this is the traits that you find in a person when you want to love them. You will pick the opposite. You're very odd when it comes to love. You're very weird when it comes to love. You can find this in many celebrities too. Will Smith's love life, he is a Libra. Him and Jada right now, very odd the way he shows his love with her. Eminem in his past relationship with his ex-wife Kim, very, very stringent. Libras, Libra rising. Libra is the sign of marriage. They're all about marriage. But it's interesting that since they are the sign of marriage, they're all about marriage. Their love life is odd, weird. They always pick the option that nobody else would go for. And this may not be the case all of the time, but you see how this plays out in people's charts. You see how this plays out in people's relationships. The ruler of Libra is Venus. Aquarius is Uranus, like I stated earlier. Opposite from it is going to be Leo. Your friends are going to love you. And this is true. Everybody tends to, for example, again, love Will Smith. All of his friends love him, even though he may be going through problems with his actual love life. Most, if not all, of Eminem fans love Eminem, even though he's had problems and he's even written about it in his songs, the problems with his love life. Kim Kardashian is also a Libra. All of her friends and fans love her, but she's had problems with all of her relationships, including the past one with Kanye West. These are examples of how the birth chart plays out. And we are just talking about your rising sign. We're not even going into detail of every single last placement in the chart. Next, you go into Scorpio. Scorpio. Your love life is lonely. Loneliness. Why do I say that? Because your fifth house is Pisces. Pisces in the fifth house. Pisces is belief, gullibleness, ignorant. You are very ignorant when it comes to love. You can't tell when a person really loves you or not. Or if they're telling you they love you, they may be lying to you. Therefore, you feel lonely when it comes to love because you cannot feel as if anyone can understand you. When it comes to Scorpios, Scorpio in itself is the zodiac sign of sex, birth, life, transference. Scorpios are a sign as men or women that tend to have a lot of kids. But even though that may be the case, they are still lonely and they're still gullible and in a state of belief of anything or anybody really when they say that they love them. And that is going to be because their 11th house, their 11th house is going to be opposite of Pisces, Virgo. All their friends are going to be Virgos. Their friends are going to be accurate. Their friends are going to be logical thinkers, accuracy, number crunchers, people who are clean, meticulous, who come off as perfect in everything that they have to do. Using another famous example, as I can say, Michael Jackson was a Virgo. These people are loved by everyone because they can do so much, or they come off as if they have everything going right for them. But having friends that are Virgos is understanding this. Virgos are natural critics. They find critique, flaws in everything that they do. They are natural critics of themselves. As another Virgo rising, I can attest to this. And since you are a Scorpio, Scorpio is the sign of obsession. Scorpio is the sign of sex. Scorpio is the sign of it can even be hate in some manners. It's very odd, but also kind of makes sense that you would be friends with the critic. There's a saying that goes around in society right now: every critic is a hater. And when you think about it that way, every famous person, everybody who does something, has somebody that critiques their work or somebody that will pop up in a chat room or somewhere and cause hate on them. And when you look at the natural zodiac wheel, critics are friends with people who are quote unquote haters, or critics are friends with people who have obsessions with people who follow celebrities or things like that. So there's sense behind the madness. Next, after that, you go into Sagittarius. You go into Sagittarius, the zodiac sign. Sagittarius, your fifth house, if you are Sagittarius rising, your fifth house is going to be Aries. We've almost come completely full circle in the zodiac. Aries is going to be your fifth house. Aries is going to be your fifth house. Aries is going to be, when it comes to love, you're very active, fast. You're very quick. You act before you think. When it comes to love, it comes to, you like to start relationships. You like to start things very quickly. You're very passionate. You can be angry. You can be very, very angry when it comes to love. If somebody does you wrong in a relationship, you may even cause violence onto them if you're not careful. Your friends are going to be Libra. Libra is your 11th house of friends. Your friends are very balanced. They're all about order, harmony, beauty. You being a Sagittarius, you are a person that's very joyous, happy, laughter, wise. You have a higher philosophical view on life. And people who are of a higher mind state or tell themselves that they believe in higher powers higher ways of living. They don't like to be considered a regular or ordinary person. They want to search or seek for higher forms of knowledge, higher forms of understanding to better themselves. Those people tend to love balance, love harmony, love order, love beauty because they find these things when they go on their journeys, their quests, their travels to gain more knowledge, to gain more education about the world and their life around them. Next, you go to Capricorn rising. Capricorn rising. Capricorn, your fifth house. And I hope y'all can see a pattern here because I'm about to give you a little trick to the zodiac. Your fifth house is going to be Taurus. Capricorns love money. Capricorns love things of value. Capricorn loves morality. These are all things that point to Taurus. Some of the richest people in the world, business owners, landlords, homeowners that own multiple properties, anything revolving business orientation, the boss, the president, CEOs, these are all Capricorns. They are people who achieve a lot in life because they love the money. Taurus is money. Taurus is valuables. They love things. They love people of value. They love people of status. They love people of stature. Opposite, opposite of your house of love in the fifth house, your house of friends, your house of knowledge, the 11th house is going to be Scorpio. Wait, Taurus, yes, Scorpio. Going to be Scorpio. You're going to see a dichotomy here. Capricorn are considered the goats. Capricorn people consider goats to be evil. If you look at in some religious schools, some religious texts, some people consider goats to be associated with a demon entity that is filled with hate and that wants malice for other people. Capricorns love people who have power. That's another word for Scorpio that I forgot to mention. Scorpio is power. I have a will. I have the power to do this. I have the power to do that. Where there's a will, there's a way. Capricorns, people who are business owners, people who are CEOs, people who govern and control a network of people who work for them under them, are naturally going to have friends who are powerful people. Powerful people going to be their friends. Next, we go to Aquarius. And before I go into Aquarius, let me tell you the trick. Your first house is your ascendant. Your fifth house is your house of love. And your ninth house, which we haven't talked about today, is going to be your house of joy, benefits, victory, luck, winning. In astrology, you have the four elements in this order: fire, earth, air, fire, earth, air, and water. And you have three of each sign. Three of each sign. You have 3 fire, 3 earth, 3 air, 3 water. Your first house, your ascendant, how you physically are, how you physically act, the way people will view you, and how you ultimately view yourself physically. Because we're not talking about planets today. We're talking about just how houses work. The first house is going to have a connection to the fifth house, and it's going to have a connection to the ninth house. Those 3 houses are going to share the same exact element. So if your first house is a fire sign, your fifth house is going to be a fire sign, and your ninth house is going to be a fire sign. So that's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. If your first house, your ascendant is an earth sign, your fifth house is going to be an earth sign, and your ninth house is going to be an earth sign. So that would be Taurus, Virgo, and is going to be Capricorn. Air signs: Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. People think Aquarius is a water sign because certain pictures show Aquarius dumping out a bucket of water. That is inaccurate. That is inaccurate. It has been widely popularized by the Bible and people believing in certain beliefs in the Bible, which would give them the idea from that picture that goes back from the Bible and even to ancient Greece, that Aquarius, the water bearer, is a water sign. It's not a water sign. Aquarius is an air sign. And finally, you have the water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Keep that in mind. So right now we are at Aquarius. We're at Aquarius. If you're in Aquarius rising, that means your fifth house is going to be an air sign. And the next air sign that comes after Aquarius, it goes back to Gemini. Gemini. Gemini in your fifth house, you are very intelligent when it comes to your love. You love people who are intelligent. You love people who can talk, people who can express themselves, people who love to open their mouth, open their mind. You are the type of person who will talk all day long, text all day long, call all day long to the person that you love. You can spend hours upon hours on the phone, hours upon hours texting the person that you love, talking about anything. Talking about anything. The ruler of your fifth house is again going to be Mercury, because it rules both the air sign of Gemini, and Mercury, the planet, also rules the earth sign of Virgo. But we're going to get into that in a different video. The opposite of your house of love, your house of friends, the 11th house, is going to be Sagittarius. Is going to be Sagittarius. You have friends that are very philosophical, very wise in the way that they speak. They're going to be very joyous, happy, laughing, go-lucky people. You yourself are a bit of an oddity. You're a person who is against the grain. This does not mean that you are necessarily weird per se, but for example, if you come from a religious background, and you're an Aquarius rising, not sun sign. We're not talking about your sun sign. You're rising. If you are an Aquarius rising, you may be the black sheep of the family. You may be the one who never goes to a sermon, never goes to a prayer service, never does anything like that. You may be the one who's always partying with friends, hanging out, drinking, doing things like that. Or if you come from a family that never, for example, goes to church, believes in a faith, they never believed in anything, you might be the one who picks up a faith, picks up of a belief system, starts believing in one of the three major religions. You have a tendency to rebel against the life that was given to you. I can go down and break down all the other houses to understand why they're the way that they are. But today we have only been talking about the fifth house of love, which is naturally ruled by Leo, and the sun, and its opposite, its 180-degree aspect, the 11th house, the house of friends, knowledge, rebellion, innovation, technology, humanity, which is naturally ruled by Aquarius and the planet Uranus. If I were to go over all 12 houses and why each one of them acts the way that we do, that would be 144 different combinations. This video is already about an hour long. Imagine how long that would take me to go through every one of them. This is just to get you to understand how deep astrology goes. And this is just a tiny fragment of what it truly means to understand astrology, because astrology is the template of God. It is the template of the universe. It is how the original being shifted and programmed everything to be. As above, so below. It says this in every single last religious textbook you can find of any religion. It says this on all of the pyramids, all of the major religions, all of the major ancestry, all of the major everything. They all agree on the same thing. The core basis of it is found in astrological principles, because astrology is more than just reading people. It's more than just reading the dates. It's the blueprint for us as humans to understand why the universe is the way that it is and how it works the way that it works. But we're not done yet. We have one more sign. We have Pisces. Pisces. If you are a Pisces rising, if you are a Pisces rising, your fifth house is also going to be a water sign. Your fifth house is going to be Cancer. Your fifth house is going to be Cancer. Your fifth house is about nurturing. You nurture the person that you love. You are very protective of the people that you love. You are more like a parent to the people that you love. Very, very, very protective. This is the opposite, for example, of Virgo rising. And here's another short thing I'm gonna throw at you. Cancer is usually indicated by the moon. The moon rules Cancer. The moon in any religion, in any part of the world, always points to fresh water, and it always points to women. Women are the ones who give birth. Women are the ones who take care and nurture the child. Women are the one who feed the child and protect the children. In Virgo's chart, the opposite of Cancer, in Virgo's chart, its fifth house is going to be Capricorn. Capricorn, like I said, is mean, is cruel, but Capricorn is also discipline. Capricorn is structure. It is construction, to build up, to define. Capricorn usually dictates or points to your disciplining parent. It does not matter if you only have one parent in your life or not. Cancer will point, whatever your house of Cancer is in, is going to point to how that parent nurtures you. Capricorn in your chart is going to point to how that parent disciplines you. Now, discipline can mean anything from how they teach you how to wear your clothes, how they teach you how to deal with people, how they teach you how to keep your life in order, how to walk, how to talk, how to step. Or it can be on the other side. They can discipline you for doing something wrong. They can discipline you to let you know, don't do that anymore. For every sign in the chart, there is that dichotomy. If you watch my first video, my first live stream that I did it on the seventh house, which was marriage. And I talked about marriage partners and how they're opposites in the chart. For a Pisces rising, their opposite is going to be Virgo. So they're going to find this flip when they're finding their partner. You need to know what your rising is, because if you go to the opposite, you're going to see how your partner is going to act, how your partner is going to be, and how it's going to affect every part of your chart. But since Cancer is the fifth house of Pisces, their opposite, their house of friends, their house of knowledge, is going to be Capricorn. Pisces, their friends are very disciplined people. Their friends are very constructive people. Their friends are people who are in control, the boss of everything around them. They have friends that get things done. They have friends that are high achievers in life, who achieve a lot in life. These are how their friends are. And Pisces, the dichotomy of how the friendship works. Pisces is faith, Pisces is belief, Pisces is the unseen, Pisces is ignorance, Pisces can be also drugs of all kinds, medicinal drugs that you may get from an herbal shop, doctor prescribed drugs, or even illegal drugs, drugs of all kinds, things that alter your perception of the way you see the world, alter the way how you perceive reality, lets you get in contact with a part of yourself that may not be as real or as clear as you want it to be. It's interesting to me, the dichotomy, because again, I did not invent this. I'm still going along the path of learning this infinite science the same way anyone else is. Because for me, what I've come to realize is the two oldest sciences that there are masonry at number two, everything having to do with building, everything having to do with structures, the infrastructure of society, and number one is astrology, how everything works, the observation of the world around you and putting together a conclusion in your mind. This is how the world works. This is how things operate. So it's really interesting when you see it this way. People who have achieved everything that can be achieved in life, the natural achievers, Capricorn, what happens when you have achieved everything in your life? What happens when you're at the top of the ladder? When everybody you know is trying to now get at your level, when you've grinded your way to the top and now you're sitting on the top of the plateau, you may have, you go to the next step, Aquarius, right? Which is inspiration, which is innovation. At that point, when you reach the top of the ladder, you take whatever has worked for those who came before you and build on top of it. When you're at the top now you make the rules, now you make the decisions, and now you leave your own legacy. You innovate, Aquarius, on top of what has already been there. But once you do that, once you've taken what has come before you and added your own piece onto it, what else can you do? The only thing left that you can do is believe, is to hope, have faith, because you don't know anything else after this point. You are now ignorant to the idea that anything can be higher than this, anything can get better than this. And you don't necessarily need to be a Capricorn rising. The 10th house, Capricorn in anyone's chart, the 10th house in anyone's chart is what you will achieve in this life. Doesn't matter if you just work a regular 9 to 5 for 20 years and you've been a mechanic. Once you've done everything you can for your local town, your local city, worked on tens of hundreds of cars, you get to a point where you're just like, there's really nothing left to do. What do people tend to do? They tend to retire, and then they just try to hope or believe or try to now move on to something new. They've done everything that they can in the field they were supposed to. They are now ignorant to what now the world has for them to do. So they become adamant, happy. They start believing. They start to believe they can do more. They start to believe maybe there's more out there for them because they don't really know. So it actually makes sense that Pisces rising, those who believe, are going to be naturally associated, friends with those who have already achieved the highest point. If you look at it from that perspective, there is an infinite amount of ways to read a zodiac chart, infinite amount of ways to read the houses. Every astrologer that you meet will have their own way of reading the chart. It is called delineation. No two astrologers will ever read the chart the same. Of course, certain astrologers will read the chart a certain type of way depending on their rising and the planetary placements in the chart, but no two people will ever truly read the chart the same type of way because we don't know everything about astrology. Again, to say you know everything about astrology is to say you know literally everything about the known universe. We don't know literally everything. Astrology just allows you to see, it gives you a glimpse into what it could mean. What it could mean. For example, let's talk about Aries for a second. Let's talk about Aries is the natural ruler of the first house. The first house and Aries are ruled by the planet of Mars. Mars is fire. Mars is policemen. Mars is fire trucks. Mars is guns. Mars is bullets. Mars is sharp objects. Mars is activity. Mars is sports. Mars is the start. Mars is the beginning. Mars can mean, there are hundreds of keywords, hundreds, if not thousands, of keywords for every single planet. I already told you there are 12 signs and there are 12 houses. 12 times 12 is 144. Now take those 144 combinations and times that by 10, because there are 10 main planetary bodies that we use in the solar in astrology: the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus. We use Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Doesn't matter if you do not consider Pluto a planet anymore, and it does not matter that you don't consider um, the moon a planet. These are the main 10 bodies that we can prove and know for a fact give indication of what things have in our life. So you have 144 different combinations times 10. That's 1,440 different combinations right there. And I just told you, and I just told you, for the planet Mars alone, there are hundreds of keywords. We are already getting into the multiplier count of hundreds of thousands of different combinations. And we're not including the North Node. We're not including mathematical points. We're not including certain asteroids like Chiron per se. Let me look at the chat for a second. Anagram types. I'm gonna answer this message in a second. I'm gonna answer in a second. Let me finish my point. There are hundreds of thousands to millions of different combinations of what anything a an astrological reading can mean. And new things get discovered over time. I'll give an example real quick. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, points to points to technology. It points to the internet. Uranus did not point to the internet back in 1905. The first internet of this era that we live in didn't get created until 1950s ish, and it was called ARPANET, and it was just a series of screens connected by electronic cables across the country. As new inventions come out in society, those keywords get those inventions, those discoveries, whatever they may be, get associated to keywords. So keywords come and go because certain things we don't use anymore. And if we don't use them anymore, therefore the keyword for that thing goes away. It doesn't stop describing it, but if nobody's using a certain thing anymore, they're not using a certain word anymore, they're not using a certain means of currency, they're not using a certain means of communication anymore, keywords come and go. So no one will ever know every little thing about astrology. It doesn't matter if you were um um Neil deGrasse Tyson and you had his intelligence times 15,000. You would never know everything when it comes to knowing the universe. But what we do know and what we do have from our ancients, from our ancestors, from everybody, all of our all of our ancestry and all of our civilizations and all of the things that we have kept in survival until this day confirm we know enough. Confirm we know enough to tell us what is happening right here, right now, on this planet, to us, and in the environment around us. As above, so below. And we can only keep going forward and try to keep making as many discoveries as we can to try to add on to why we believe and do the things that we do. But let me answer this question this week. Anagrams. What does anagram types? What about anagram types does that have something to do with astrology? Anagrams, graffiti, um, hieroglyphs, um, code, ciphers, um, what else? Smoke signals, um, any type of writing, any type of communication, any type of 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 language-based system, any type of communication of any kind, written, visual, mental, thought, all forms of thought, and how it is expressed in this reality is all Gemini. All of that is Gemini. All of that is Mercury. All of that is Mercury, and that is when Mercury rules Gemini. All of it. Anything you have, pen, papers, any type of writing of any kind, any type of communication, thought transference. If you're trying to get a message across, whether physical, electronic, all of that, Gemini. Gemini. All that is Gemini. There are certain, certain, certain. This is why I say there are only really 12. Let me break this down to then. I already told you that no two astrologers will read a zodiac chart the exact same way. No two astrologers will read a zodiac chart the exact same way. Better astrologers, you can tell when some astrologers are just quacks and some astrologers kind of know what they're talking about. And I'll tell you how. Astrologers who tend to have hundreds of readings, if not thousands of readings, tend to be better than somebody who just cracked open a book one day to try to learn astrology. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. But even then, I'm gonna tell you this. An astrologer could have read thousands of people, read thousands of people over the course of 20, if not 30 years, and still know little to absolutely nothing when it comes to astrology. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Astrology is not the keywords. Astrology is not the descriptions. That's not the astrology. The astrology comes from tracking the motions of the planets and seeing how they correlate to what is happening on Earth. Astrology is not delineating, the word I told you earlier. Astrology is a science. And what makes or breaks astrology is not the keywords. What makes or breaks astrology is the math. Astrology is a science. Astrology is based on math. Specifically, what kind of math? Geometry. Astrology is based on geometry. This is Metatron's cube. This is the Merkaba, the most complex geometrical solid in the universe. Astrology is based on geometry. I'm gonna tell you basic things you need to know about astrology. Real quick. I say real quick and then it always goes on. I am a Gemini sun. I'm a Gemini sun. My sun sign, now we're talking about sun signs. My sun sign is in Gemini. So I love to talk. But since I am a Virgo rising, the things I talk about, I am accurate in what I talk about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And if I don't know something, I will tell you I'm wrong or I will move myself away from everybody. Virgo, another thing about Virgo. See, if you're going to talk about Virgo and Pisces, Virgo is the hermit. Let me see. In tarot, the hermit, that's Virgo. The hermit. If you could see in here, if you can see here, he actually, the man in that picture, this is a tarot card, one of the earliest tarot card readings. That's a Merkaba. If you can see the star-shaped pattern, that's a Merkaba in there. That's not a random piece of light. That's actually a Merkaba that he has inside there. I didn't even know that. I found that after. I bought this picture first. You see how the astrology works? You don't find it. It finds you. It works through you. This is the universe. This is destiny. This is God we're talking about here. This is all of human nature. Why are there 12 zodiac signs? People are going to tell you right now that there are 13 zodiac signs. Some people say, oh, astrology is based off the constellations. Astrology is based off. No, it's not. The ancients, at one point in time, did use the constellations for astrology at one point in time, but they realized something. After generation after generation after generation after generation, they realized something. Every 72 years, the constellations shift 1 degree. Every 72 years, they shift 1 degree. I don't know when exactly they figured this out, but when they figured this out, this is what they had to realize. The constellations are not constant. And since they are not constant, we cannot use them as a basis point for how we're reading the stars, how we're reading how events are happening on Earth. That's not how science works. You cannot use a variable to try to prove a constant because a variable is based on something. You cannot say 2 and 2 make 4. It's 2 plus 2 makes 4. You need that plus there to let you know that you're adding. 2 and 2 could be 2 minus 2, 2 divided by 2, 2 times 2. You don't necessarily know. You need a constant to be able to be used. Once they realized that, they had to come up with a new system to read the stars, to read as above, so below, to read what was happening in the heavens that was happening here on Earth. This is where they had to come up with the geometry. Astrology is not based off the constellation. Astrology is not based off the stars. Astrology is based on Earth's path around the sun, Earth's trajectory around the sun. That is what astrology is based off of. Earth takes Earth makes a 360-degree loop around the sun. 360 degrees translates to about 365.2586 days or 1 year. Exactly. That is what 360 degrees translates into. If you have 360 degrees and you divide it by 12, that will give you 12 signs of 30 degrees each, or 12 months of the year with about 30 days in them. If you're seeing how things are starting to add up, it's not a perfect circle. We do not make a perfect circle around the sun, but we do make a 360-degree loop. It's not a perfect 360-degree circle. Things in the universe go on a spiral. Things spiral. They don't make a perfect circle. We know this because time moves forward. Since it's not a perfect circle each and every single time, we can tell where the shifts are. We can tell that there are seasons. The reason why we have seasons, summer, we have spring, summer, autumn in the eastern hemisphere, in Africa and places like that, and over here in the northern hemisphere or western hemisphere, we have spring, summer, autumn, and winter, is because one, the earth itself isn't a perfect 360-degree circle. For anyone in here that thinks the world is flat, can't be. Can't be. The world can't be flat. We wouldn't have seasons if the world was flat. And if the world was a perfect, and the world can't be a perfect circle either. Because if the world was a perfect circle, we would have winter not only here on the western hemisphere, we'd have winter on the eastern hemisphere. In Africa, in places like that, they only have 3 seasons. They don't have 4. Depending on where we are on our path around the sun, sometimes we are closer to the sun and sometimes we're farther away. Currently, in the western hemisphere, we are in Cancer season right now. We are exactly 9 degrees in the Cancer season, or today is July 1st. We are exactly 9 degrees in the Cancer season. Cancer season is the start of the summer. When we are in the summer, from Cancer to Leo to Virgo, or from late late June to late late September, that period of time is when we are on a path to the sun. We are closest to the sun. We are closest to the sun, therefore we have longer days. We are closer to the sun, therefore we have longer days, and therefore we have hotter days here on the western hemisphere. On the eastern hemisphere, they're going through their autumn season, not even necessarily winter, because it doesn't get that cold. Since we know this, since we know that too, on the opposite end, when we are the furthest away from the sun here on the western hemisphere, or during Capricorn season, December, that is winter season. Since we have these seasons, we can tell that one, we are moving along a path around the sun, and two, we are not evenly shaped, because depending on where you are on the planet, the weather condition changes because you are not the same distance from the sun every single time. So I have quote unquote debunked um flat earth theory for anyone who believed it. I believed it at 1.2, but I had to, when I got into the actual mathematic of it and the actual motion tracking, this is how you gotta understand, that's how you're gonna understand it too. But that is how you should look at the world. You should look at, and I want everybody to see, everything that's happening in this world around us, everything that is happening in this life and society around us is all one. However, this universe has created itself to be, whether you believe in a higher power, a God figure, or not, everything was meant to be. We do not know exactly how everything is going to play out, but all good actions, all bad actions, at the end of the day, were meant to be, and it's all in divine order. All of it is in divine order. I only encourage people. I don't encourage people to become astrologers, because you can't even necessarily do that. You can't even necessarily do that, and I'll tell you why too. You think you choose what life has in store for you. Again, life already has it in store for you. I didn't know I would become an astrologer or work on being an astrologer. But even in my own personal chart, the planet of Uranus is in the sign of Aquarius, and it makes a trine, a harmonious aspect, a 120-degree aspect from my sun in Gemini. So I easily, and I didn't tell you, and you should know this too, Uranus is the ruler of astrology. I easily can explain astrological knowledge to people. And there is a transit going on in the sky right now. There's a transit going on in the sky right now where I am learning, or I am coming to understand the value. Currently in the sky, Uranus is in Taurus still. I am currently, from my natal chart to this transit, I am going through a stage in my life where when I'm starting to learn the value, Taurus, of astrology, Uranus. Once you read the chart and you come to understand how it works, it blows your mind because you just understand this is where my life has been taking me. This is why certain things have been happening to me in my life. This is how the Creator destined my journey to be. How much do I charge for readings? For anybody who want to know, I'm learning. I'm looking to get a website on the way. But if you want to get a reading from me, you can message me on Instagram. Since I'm still starting out, I do readings for relatively cheap. Relatively cheap. But I can assure you, I can give you a breakdown of where your actual rising sign is, because most people don't actually know where the rising sign is. Most people believe they're one rising sign, but they're actually another. They don't actually know how to break that down. I can assess that for you. I can break down the traits of your partner. I can break down where each and every planet truly is in your chart, and how does that play out to your life currently today. I can give you also a 5-minute free sample where if you like the sample, you like how I'm presenting it to you, you can decide to get a full reading or not. But if anyone wants my Instagram, um, or if not, if you cannot get my Instagram for any reason, you can you can leave your Instagram bio in the chat. Also, anyone wants to leave the Instagram bio in the chat, you can also leave it there and I will read my chat and I will get back to you. But I want for everybody to know bare minimum for themselves their chart, how to read it, so they know when they can have beneficial points and times in their lives and when they can have points and times in their life that might be disharmonious. For example, Saturn. Saturn is construction, Saturn is building, Saturn is responsibility. People talk about a Saturn square. This happens every 7 years. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and so on. Every 7 years, you acquire more difficulty in your life because you have more responsibility that gets thrown on you. When you're 7 years old, you must now start going to school. Some kids might have to start waking up earlier. Some kids have to start taking care of themselves, putting on their own uniform. They don't get a freebie ride anymore, to just stay home and do whatever they want. 14, now you have to develop friends. You got to go through high school. You got to start thinking for yourself. 21, you probably are in college, you just finished college around that age. You're starting to look to get a job. You're starting to get your own place. You're starting to get your life together. By the time you're 28, if you don't have your career already established, and you're going to start panicking. For women, if you're around the age of 28, 29 or so, this might be around the time you might start looking for a relationship. Not necessarily. Some people can push it into their 30s, but around like 31, 32, if you don't already have a child or something like that, life is going to push you in that direction. You're getting to that age now where if you're not going to have it now, you're not going to have it at all. And for men, if you're not already established by 28, 29 years old, 30, you're going to be considered a bum. You're going to be considered a loser if you're still trying to figure it out and you haven't got yourself ready or rolling yet. I can tell you in the natal chart reading, if you're looking for that too, what part or what aspect of your life that's going to bother you. But this has been a breakdown. In part 3 of this, which I'm probably going to have next week or so, maybe later this week, I already did Today was love and advancement. Next week I'm probably going to be talking about how to get anything you want out of astrology when it comes to the way you think and communicate and how you educate yourself. How do you got to speak to people? How exactly do you got to communicate with people to get what you want? And what should you be going out of your way to learn? Because if you learn how to do this, you can gain so much more out of your life. This man Chris is here on your agency. I'll get back to everybody next time.